Hi guys, welcome to Jasiri. Now is the Jasiri o'clock, and you know that means 1 hour of insightful conversation where we push the envelope on every subject that is available on our table today. I'm not alone. I usually do this with my girls. This show is never complete with any of them. Annie is still with us. Yesterday it was amazing to see Annie on set. And today it just warms our hearts anytime Lolo and I, and of course all the ladies, we all see Annie. Everybody's just a natural smile that comes with that. Yeah. So guys, welcome to Jasiri. I know with many things happening, I know that with many things that happen around us every day, sometimes it's hard to keep the smile up. But today, yeah, we will try to connect the dots and make sense out of the nonsense that is served to us on a daily basis here in Nigeria. Guys, how are you? Lola is dreaming of a white Christmas. I mean,
listen, honestly,
Did
you guys talk about it? Christmas, it's just about expensive food I can't afford.
I know. Sometimes you're looking for something to hold on, like a lifeline.
Yeah.
And I think that's where sometimes our dreams come into play. You just dream. I wish I would be in a different climate where things are working.
Yep.
I wish I would be in a place where, you understand, where I just need to rest, recalibrate, restore, just be able to come back fresh, alive, and with the gusto and the vivaciousness I need to live life in Nigeria. Why is that so hard to attain?
Well, it's hard because, I mean, we know the country that we live in. I feel like it's almost like a broken record at this point. We complain about the country, and the country gives it back to us. It's like the country and the citizens were in this never-ending battle dance. And we don't know who's going to win. It feels like, we're losing.
For me, sometimes it's the state of hopelessness. Because there's a thing when there's hope. When you're hoping that things will get better, when you have, maybe before you even hope, that means there are things on ground. Maybe you can see some telltale signs that things will get better. But we can't even see telltale signs of things getting better. The only signs we see is signs that things are going to get worse. And sometimes you feel as if you're choking because everybody cannot escape, like some people. I can't just pack my bags now and say, oh, I want to go. I have 4 children in Nigeria who are going to university, who are in school. Even now, if you're relocating at this time, trust me, you are very, very, very extremely bastardly rich. Because if you're going to relocate now,
it's
like a big family like mine, a family of 4 children, 5 really plus I know, that's like 7 people.
Hundreds of thousands.
That's what I'm saying, that you must be bastardly, thiefly rich.
To think about.
Because I don't know what legitimate thing you want to do.
To escape the economy that is like run by thieves, you have to now be a thief yourself. Anyways, let's quickly move on before we get into trouble. Mama K was talking about, you know, putting the dots together.
Oh, yes.
So speaking of connecting the dots, I want to give you guys a bit more information that might maybe brighten your day a little bit. I doubt it, but I'm going to try. Do you know that every single Nigerian right now, all 200+ million of us, we each owe 619,501 naira.
No, say that again.
Yes. In fact, I'm going to read the stats so that I don't just talk.
Minimum wage.
So, each Nigerian reportedly owes an average of 619,501 naira as part of the country's, wait for it, 134.3 trillion naira national debt. With the National Bureau of Statistics putting the country's population at 216.7 million persons, it would mean that the debt per capita stands at just under 620,000 per person. And this is based on the latest debt figure released by the DMO. Guys, that's over 92 billion naira. 92 with a B. You know, billion dollars. I'm sorry. Billion dollars. Yeah.
You see, this is a part where Nigerians say, don't use your reggae to spoil my blues. You went to borrow the loan. I didn't ask you to borrow this loan on my behalf. We will
connect dots by force.
The truth, they say, if you borrow money, let's let's even talk about relatability.
Yeah.
When you go to borrow money, maybe among friends and institution, there's a reason why you're borrowing the money.
And you already have a plan on
To pay
payback.
it back.
Now, it's not just Nigeria. You know, when you're looking at it, federal, the federal government owes like 66.9 trillion.
Yes.
While states owe 4.2 trillion naira. Now, let's go to local government.
Oh, don't even talk about the local government.
Everybody is borrowing for everywhere they can. That means the next successive government, even if we have 3 successive governments
We can't pay our
after
debt
this,
back. Yeah.
we are still going to be paying back loans that they didn't incur.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys something? I want to hear your take on why you think we're in so much debt. I have a theory, but I want to know, why do you think we're in this much debt? Are we not generating anything?
Is it not mismanagement?
I think... I think,
Mismanagement is at the core of it.
yeah, and
Because
then
the
laziness.
we have resources.
Yeah.
Who is managing these resources?
It's laziness.
It's laziness of mind and intellectual capacity to be able to harness what we need. It's not rocket science. If what is going out is more than what is coming in, there will be a deficit. And when there's a deficit, where does this deficit go? It becomes a burden on us. Now we're running a system that we're not even generating. All that we're generating is not even enough to cater for the country. So we are borrowing to even run
The country.
the country itself. And we are not exporting enough to be able to generate enough to service the debt. So the debts keep accumulating. And we still have loopholes, so, like mining, that people are just enjoying life, chopping for nothing. Gas is being flared. Is it not still being flared?
Yeah.
And we're using just a tiny bit of it for domestic and things. So those are avenues of waste.
Yeah.
Today I was looking at one thing on IG, and they say somewhere in Japan that they grow this koi fish.
Yeah.
Very beautiful, colorful fish. They grow it in their gutters, as in their drainages, because the drainages are clear.
That's
And
why
I put it on my Insta story. I said, can we do this in Nigeria? Even ordinary catfish. When your gutters are laden with plastics and waste and...
There's a lot of debt going on.
Yeah.
Towing what you said, let's look at figures as at March this year. This is March, or we are in November, heading into December. As at March, can you believe that new debt figure put at 134 trillion, like you said, naira, is a 13 trillion naira increase. It's augmented. That's by 13 trillion naira from 121 trillion as at March this year.
Just
so
between
tell
March
me why
and
that
now.
is not an intentional thing.
No, but you see, the reason I asked is, and I'm not, you guys know that I'm rarely ever on the government side, ever.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it's not a bit simplistic, thinking that it's just a matter of money coming in and then, we just don't spend it the right way. I feel like there's a lot more at play in the background. For instance, if we do our research, I remember reading somewhere that African countries are highly taxed. Highly taxed. And in fact, I feel like one of the reasons why the poorest countries remain in debt is because they're designed to remain that way. You cannot advance as a country and become an economic power because you are constantly borrowing to sustain the country. And you're borrowing because your taxes are so high.
If you realize that, you see this thing you just said, if you realize that this is the plan, what do you do as a human being? Let's take a look at Nigeria as a person. I'm Nigeria, you are Chad, you are Mali. I realize that me as Nigeria, this thing is not paying me. I better stop. Let me, like Lola says, let me redress and see how I can do what? Use belt to tie my belly. And suffer what we can suffer and wait it out, because you know that in the long run, borrowing is not the answer. Even when we borrow money, people borrow money from institutions, microfinance banks and all that. You need to pay back. And the interest rates are a killer. Once you know that, if you say that at this point, I didn't have a choice than to borrow because I was in dire straits, I didn't plan. Once you realize that, what do? You go back
change
to
your
the
strategy.
drawing board.
But the thing is, this thing has been ongoing for years. So it's not like we're stupid. You can see it. Every country is going to borrow from them so that we can remain enslaved to their system. And we'll always be beggy. But we as a country, why are we not developing ourselves to be able to wrench ourselves from the grip
Of the West.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Dubai. There was a time in their lives they didn't have a lot but oil.
Yeah.
Now they looked at it. What we lack in Nigeria is just visionary leaders. They don't see beyond their nose.
Okay.
If they were seeing beyond their pockets, they will know that if I keep taking from this place and we're not giving back anything, we're going to hit the ground zero one day. How long have they been predicting that oil will no longer serve us at the time?
Exactly.
And yet there is no other thing on the table to augment oil. It's not rocket science. We don't need fairy dust.
Listen.
Nothing will come out of it eventually. We will go bankrupt.
If we want to go through the history of loans and borrowing in the country, guys, it is staggering. I don't know if we have time for this, but let me quickly tell you that the World Bank has approved no fewer than 36 loan requests to the Nigerian government, amounting to a substantial total of $24.1 billion in 5 years. Now, why is that? The President Tinubu's administration also secured loans worth $6.5 billion from the World Bank in just 16 months. This amount increased to the new figure following the recent approval of 3 new loans totaling $1.6 billion from the World Bank for various projects in Nigeria, and is expected to increase further in the coming months. Every country on earth borrows. I think we know. The big question for us is, what is the debt, the loans, what are all these monies used for?
I do not know.
My dear, having said that,
infrastructures are still down, everything is unfinished, and yet we're borrowing.
Well,
if we're talking about this borrowing, the talk of borrowing, this issue of borrowing, we're not going to end here. And we know that debts are not the only thing keeping us up at night. When Jasiri returns, we're going to be looking at Nigeria's food insecurity crisis, because next year things are not going to be smiling. We can be saying Merry Christmas and looking for a way to escape. Means is escapism, of course. But when we return, we should look at how worried we are when over 30 million Nigerians could be insecure by food in the coming year. This is serious, guys. Stay with us. This is Jasiri.
Welcome back to the show. Please join the conversation via our social media platforms. We are at News Central TV. All right, before we went on a break, we were talking about a crisis that Nigeria is facing, and it is reported that we are going to be facing an unprecedented hunger crisis, with projections indicating that over 30 million people will be food insecure by next year. This is not 5 years, we're talking next year, which is a few weeks around the corner. An alarming increase from 18.6 million that are currently affected at the moment. This dire situation stems from a combination of factors, including escalating inflation, ongoing conflicts across regions, and the impact of climate change. Now, the recent economic reforms by President Bola Tinubu, which included the devaluation of the Naira and the removal of the fuel subsidies, have further strained household budgets, pushing many people into food insecurity. With continued violence and instability affecting agricultural production, it's only a matter of time before a humanitarian disaster strikes us really hard. Now, joining us on the show today is the president of the National Ginger Association of Nigeria, Mr. Gagarin Madaki. Welcome to the show, Mr. Madaki.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us for this critical conversation, Mr. Madaki. Now, I want to start by asking how recent economic reforms under the Tinubu administration have impacted farmers and food production in Nigeria.
Well, I can tell you that I've said it a couple of times, that what they have put on paper is not being fully implemented. They talked about the Tinubu food security and empowerment launched by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture at the beginning of the year. I do not know how much was set aside for it, but that amount, very tiny percentage, was released to farmers. So they are not meeting their actions with money. They're just rhetorics, just speaking political talk, and very little percentages actually reaching the actual farmer, who is in fact the one that's supposed to make the difference in terms of food security.
Some weeks ago, we saw reports that about 23 farming communities fled as bandits occupied military training camps in Niger State, leaving farmers afraid of their lives. You know, they were so afraid for their lives. Could you shed more light on how armed conflict, particularly in the northeastern state, has hindered agricultural activities and food distribution?
You know, it's really very unfortunate, because this year in particular, you will find out that there are certain communities that have had to engage soldiers, have to engage the police are stretched, so civil defense, to escort them to their farms to harvest. The soldiers are guarding them while they're harvesting. You ask, how did we get here? So the situation in the United States is very sad, and I think a lot of the conflict there is resource conflict. They are targeting the natural resources, and that's to gain access and buy their arms and ammunition, and they cause this chaos there to send away people, and essentially they go there and they try and mine a lot of these activities. And when this mining is not working, they now go after the communities there, they kidnap them, they terrorize them, they charge them levies to allow them go on operate their farms or to harvest their fruits. So the situation is actually bad. It's worse than it's being reported, actually. It's terrible.
Mr. Madaki, you've touched on the subject of the insecurity that the farmers are facing, and it's going to bring me to my next question. This isn't something that just started. I mean, we understand that this current government is really not doing very good in terms of securing the country. However, this has been an issue for years. It's been like this from, I feel like, maybe 2-3 administrations backwards. So how is it that this country, or the different administrations that have come into power, how are they not able to fix the problem of insecurity? I mean, it's 2024. People can be found. There should be things that are done that can secure people's lives. How come we haven't been able to do that all this time?
Well, that's a good question, and I can assure you that the truth is that we have a lot of people in government. Well, I should be careful what I say. There are a lot of high net worth people up there that are behind this banditry.
Oh, wow.
Who are making money from ensuring that the banditry continues. That is why it has transcended more than one regime. It's going to be, like you said, 2 or 3 regimes. And the truth is that there are very powerful people that are making benefit. They're benefiting from the chaos being caused, the confusion, there's the strife they're causing, they're making money from it. So, and as long as certain budgets are being set aside, these problems are going to continue. I mean, Abacha once said that if a problem exceeds more than 48 hours, government is behind it.
Oh, wow.
Abacha said it, not me. So that tells you that there are certain parts of government that have been hijacked by bandits, in quotes, you understand, who are making money from all of this, and that's just the truth. And the truth is government knows who they are. I think they're just managing them, and everybody just manages them and then hands it over to the next person. The sincerity is that if you want to handle this matter, it can be handled. They arrest people, and then you get calls from above saying, release them. You need to speak to soldiers and hear what they say. Wow. You need to speak to policemen and hear what they say.
Wow.
They get calls from above, release those bandits. Why, who is calling? Who is calling the shots? Who in the police or the armed forces are calling the shots? So you have to find this out. That's true. Until they find this out and there's a transparent method of attacking this problem, we are just going to keep going around in circles and we're just going to come back to here. That's it.
All right, so let's step away from insecurity a bit and how it affects food production. There are problems with food production in Nigeria. That's a fact. We often fail to meet demand when it comes to providing. We often fail to, meet demands when it comes to providing for the people. So let's look at other issues. What are the primary challenges faced by local farmers, and how can these be mitigated to boost food production?
Well, now that question is, there are a lot of reasons. First, you're talking about access to finance. You're looking at agricultural infrastructure investments. We do not have enough for post-harvest management as to pre-harvest management. Farmers cannot get funding for their inputs. They cannot get. We are still farming like we were farming 100 years ago. We're not mechanized. We must move to mechanization if we want. You see, this government keeps talking about food security and empowerment. They can't make up their minds. And I keep saying this, you can't decide that we want to empower people, so we deliberately will not introduce mechanization. That's wrong. Because if you go to places like India, you go to villages in India, you find out that the common man there is using a tractor to farm his less than 1 hectare.
Yes.
These are supposedly peasant farmers.
Countries, yeah.
Now, if we do not think of agriculture as a business in that angle and then put the investments, the truth is that nobody really, from the last set of government, that apart from General Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, who was a farmer, I don't think any other person has understood the importance of farming as a business. They come out and they make rhetorics. They say, oh, yes, we need to improve the livelihood. But the formula they use shows you that they do not understand the techniques of getting it. Look at the Anchor Burras program. That was just a waste of money. And then people just abused it. And then it was poorly implemented. But it would have been very, very effective if it was implemented properly. So that's part of the problem. It's the implementation, and those who have the knowledge are not brought on board to implement their knowledges. You just have civil servants who go for meetings and then they make all those political speeches, and then they are not able to impact anything on the people that need this help. Climate change is a real problem. We just make it part of our speeches, but it's a real problem. I can tell you, for instance, now, I am an exporter, so I'll speak from my own angle. I'll tell you that the high rainfall affected states, I know Yobe, Jigawa, and Bauchi, those are areas that produce crops that do not like that much rain, i.e. Zobo, hibiscus flower, and a few others, even the beans, they do not like that much rain. But climate change, the rainfall could not have been predicted. Oh, fuck me!
Hello,
Mr. Madaki, are you
us?
still with us? Oh, well, it looks like we're having some technical issues over there, but
yes.
The point was clearly made.
Yes,
yeah.
it's very disheartening that we're still talking mechanization.
In 2024.
No, in
people...
2024. It's something mind-boggling.
Yes.
That we're still thinking agriculture. How many people can, traditional agricultural practices feed? Well, we have these population that is bursting at the seams.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
216 million plus people. And counting.
How many holes and cutlasses are you going to hold?
You go hold to a farm and use traditional method?
Yeah, but so you see, I feel like there is an institutionalized...
Yes, that thing you want to say, yes.
Yeah, that thing. I'm
yes.
now.
Yes.
English, don't fail me now.
Yes.
Institutionalized helplessness and mediocrity.
That is it.
In Nigerians, it's almost bred into you, because I think that naturally we are pretty intelligent. We have the ability to be excellent people, but the facility to enable that excellence is not there. it's not there. It's not celebrated. It's not encouraged. It's not, so it's just not there. So people will just fall back to the, hey, I'll do the bare minimum.
Look at all the things, the millions and billions of naira that they said they're investing in agriculture. Every day we're hearing things like we're importing fertilizer, we're doing this, we're doing that. And you're wondering, I even heard tractors are being bought.
Oh, yeah.
So who are the farmers who these tractors are given to? Look at now, something that farmers will never even consider before. Now they have to consider security as part of the things they need to factor in. Yeah. Because the soldiers that are guarding them in their farms are not going to guard them because they love them.
No,
and they just want to serve the country.
No, you're going to pay for it.
Many of them have to organize for private security. And
which
that
is
means
expensive.
Add it to the cost of whatever they are producing. So why would we have hunger crisis?
Scarcity.
Why would there be food scarcity? Why would there be starvation in the land? Because
maybe
this is a crisis looming.
Maybe this is the thing that is going to
doing.
The straw that's going to break the camel's back. Yeah, maybe this is the straw, because it feels like, I don't know if you guys are thinking about it. I was talking with someone yesterday, and I'm like, Nigerians, we're strong. We're very strong, but particularly in this regime, we seem really, really strong, because I feel like Nigerians have reacted harsher to less harsh conditions in the past.
Get this back.
Yes, I remember when I think fuel was 200 and something, and Nigerians were like, "Oh, enough is enough. We want better." And now people are quietly marching or driving to the queues, parking to pay for fuel at over 1,000 naira.
And when you ask them, say, what do we do now?
What do we do now?
And then we end the statement with what?
It go better. It is well. And that is what we were talking about about the artificial helplessness
but do you know that
you were made to feel.
Yes, I'm looking at us as a people that we're really caught in a different cloth in Nigeria, because the amount of taking, we can just take
taking
a situation.
We're taking a lot.
I keep asking this question, that when would be the breaking point?
Perhaps
I know that NSAS is still very, very fresh in a lot of people's minds.
Do you think there can be a breaking point?
I think I think there will be. It's not a matter of time. There will be.
We're still looking. We're striving.
You know, we
can still make ends meet.
Yeah.
But now it's a different thing. Now it's more like, if you can afford it, you can get it. But the time is coming that you can afford it and you can still get it. Because if food is not being grown, if it can't be harvested, that means there is no food to even buy with your money.
No. Teacher, when people cannot eat, when the poor cannot find food to eat,
that's what I'm saying.
What do you think they will eat? They will eat the rich. That's it.
That's it. You climb those walls that you build.
They will eat the rich
to protect yourself.
So, I mean,
and they would come into your compound.
Perhaps we're just like in a fattening room and we don't even realize it. We're just fattening ourselves to be devoured.
When we talk about these things and we look at it and read it, I'm always like scared a little.
Oh yeah,
now,
it's
we're
very
talking about hunger crisis.
Yeah,
hunger crisis means there is money. You don't understand. You have, let's say, X amount of money to buy, but there is no food to buy. So that means everything you get is rationed.
I don't think we'll understand the gravity of this until it hits us in our faces.
I doubt it.
But, you know, despite Nigeria's vast agricultural resources and potential food insecurity, food insecurity remains a pressing concern, with many households, like we just said, struggling to access nutritious foods. This conversation is a conversation that must be had. I know these are the conversations that we have on the Jasiri table. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Don't forget to join the conversation via social media platforms. We are at News Central TV. So, according to reports, the ladies and I were having this discussion during the break. Nigeria has roughly 36.9 million hectares of arable land. Yet, an estimated 33 million people are expected to be food insecure by next year. And when you think about it, look at factors like climate change, economic instability, conflict, inefficient food distribution systems. These all contribute to this challenge. So if we're looking at 36.9 million hectares of arable land and 33 million people are expected to be food insecure by next year, this is what you call, is it probability or permutation, and what? How do we do the math toward this? What does it cost us?
There's no math.
to do mechanized, to engage in. I used to love agricultural
Catherine,
science.
what are we saying? Are we going back in time? Because I have heard this government and previous government before that, at least when we're talking about when our guests, we're sorry we did lose our guest, but we're trying our best to get him back.
Yeah.
We're talking about President Olusegun Obasanjo that was a farmer.
Yeah.
Buhari was our president.
He's a farmer as well.
He was a farmer as well. He has...
He's a livestock farmer, but he's a farmer.
Farming.
Yeah.
And I know that since I was little, I've been hearing mechanized farming. I've been hearing that they were importing tractors and this and that.
It's the same way we hear about the refineries, though. We hear about a lot of things in Nigeria.
And now we're still talking
happens.
about mechanized farming. And this amount of arable lands. Do you know there's so many solutions I have in my head? Look at all our prisons that are bursting at the seams with inmates, with nothing they're doing. All these arable lands, why are they not taking them there to farm? All this land, they will make use of them adequately to be able to, you know, contribute something.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to try to answer your question with a story, and it doesn't have anything to do with agriculture, but I think it is symptomatic. It's a sign of what we're facing in this country. So, I remember I had a friend who lives in this nice estate, and there was a portion of the road that was completely it was just bad. It was potholes, bad road, whatever.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take. How much would it take to fix it? And they were using that road like that for years. So one day, this man says, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna fix the road. What's it gonna cost me? If nobody wants to do it, I'll do it. I mean, everybody will benefit, but I myself will benefit from it."
Yeah.
And so he sets about trying to fix that patch of road that has caused them problems for years.
They will come after him.
The day this guy decided to do it, all of a sudden, government officials that were nowhere to be found for years, they just came out of the woodworks. And he was not allowed to do it.
Of course, I know.
So this is the country that we live in, where it is not the availability of the land, the availability of the resources, that is not the issue. There is a bigger, I suppose, agenda at play. Now, what I feel we, the citizens, like the common people in Nigeria, need to understand or figure out is, what is the end goal? If you know where a person is going, you might not know the route they're going to take to get there, but if you know where there is, you will plow your own route or cut them off at the pass.
The people, because if your people are empowered, you cannot continue to plunder with impunity.
So you're saying the goal is to impoverish people, right? And why do we need to be poor? There's a reason.
So that you don't rise up and fight against their government, their tyranny.
Okay, good. So what is the solution to that impoverishment? Because it is being meted out against us. What is the solution?
We have to still rise up.
No, it is information. These people play chess while Nigerians play checkers. In fact, we barely play checkers at all.
I agree with that.
Do you see what I'm saying? We don't have as much information as we need.
We have said that on this table. Information is key.
Yes.
And because, in addition to what Annie said, we are very reactionary.
Yes.
And we are reactionary because of sentiments and emotions.
And discomfort.
Before we think of information and
picture.
processing, before we know then how to react.
Yeah.
We've said ASU has gone on strike for so many years. Since I was in school, I've heard ASU.
I think they've been more on strike than they haven't been.
Do you understand?
Yes.
So people have lost. Private universities thrive, and I'm not digressing. Private universities thrive because parents are tired of losing years with your children. Exactly. So half of what we're facing as a country is artificial. Because if we are in a state of mind that we don't want to come out of and we're looking for escapism, everything, and so that's why social media is like a drug to people. People go there because they want to seemingly forget about their realities and look at things that make them laugh. And that's why when you talk about serious issues, people don't contribute really, because it's a reminder of their reality. But if you're talking about something lighthearted, entertaining and all that, they rush there.
Yeah.
That doesn't solve our issues. It will not solve our issues. We're talking about agriculture now. When we're having the discussion on this table, I was asking myself, what each administration would be known for. Okay, President Obasanjo's administration, remember him with the mobile phones.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you look at President Jonathan's administration, you ask, what is he known for? We look at President Tinubu's Buhari's tenure, administration. What were we known for? We look at President Tinubu's regime. What are they going to be known for?
Suffering.
You know,
I can answer that.
You
Suffering.
pick a struggle, guys.
I remember suffering and smiling.
Are you investing in healthcare more in this administration? Are you focusing on education? Is it healthcare? Is it agriculture?
Let's
what
say
are
maybe
we doing?
Okay. Tinubu's administration, we're having better lights for more cost.
Sorry?
Light.
Sorry, excuse me. So now you've triggered me, and I'm just going to go. I was telling someone that this band A thing, this banding of power that happened, what's going to happen is people are going to be paying higher tariffs, and then the distribution of light is going to go back to what it was before. Bet.
So we are not.
Because right now we don't actually have the light. I'm just saying we don't have the light.
Well, we're talking about food security, guys. I think our guest is back, and you know, food insecurity is what led us to a myriad of other things. It's like a ripple effect of every other thing.
Yes, we're talking about
healthcare. We've talked education. We've talked
climate change.
Climate change. And so, if our guest can hear us, hello,
Mr. Madaki, are you there? Welcome back. Welcome back. We're glad to have you back, Mr. Madaki.
Welcome back.
We hope everything is all right over there. Okay. Well,
I'm not sure.
We're going to work it out. Yes.
But you know, we need to discuss another thing, climate change, honestly.
Yeah.
Because the climate of the world is changing. So
and he mentioned that.
He mentioned that also.
Yes. Listen,
and the climate of the world is changing. And we are still grappling with traditional troubles when the world is already thinking ahead. What can we do to be able to counter? Do you know how many tornadoes have torn through countries this year? How many
floods? Flash floods.
Mr.
Madaki, sorry, Lolo. I think our guest is trying to get back. Are you here with us, Mr. Madaki?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. Fantastic. We're glad to have you back.
To talk to him about
all right,
inflation.
quickly, let me just ask that because everybody knows that food is rising. I mean, with the rising cost of food and inflation at about 32.7%, what strategies? Because we're always looking for solutions. Because we already know the amount of troubles and problems that are on the table, but let's just strive towards a solution. What strategies do you think government can employ to stabilize food, prices, and perhaps turn the tide?
Well, this is on a personal note. I have given up of government, and I think we have to, as private individuals, look inwards. And I'll tell you what we can do. If you do go to Europe and you drive around from the urban areas to rural areas in countries like Hungary, with Germany as well, you will see a lot of people have behind their houses greenhouses. Now we have to look at that model. If I ask any of you ladies there, do you have like a small garden of yours? Do you farm anything? Anything at all? Or you're too busy to do that? The truth is that if each individual were to start growing their own tomatoes, their own okras, their own yams, like I've been encouraging a lot of my friends, and they're doing it now, and I'm doing it as well. If we grow these things at home, we would be mitigating against these food prices that are increasing every day in the market. And what we're seeing this year is nothing. Next year is going to be worse. And we have to prevent these shocks by taking the bulls by the horn and then becoming farmers individually at home. If you have a garden, there's aeroponics, you don't need soil. You can grow cabbage, lettuce using soilless farming. You can, if you have soil, you can grow yams in sacks. These are things that people are doing and they're working. So if we all start doing that gently, it will help. But if we're waiting for the government, first, they do not put people who understand the importance of, you see, you have to be intentional with agri. It's not easy money. It's hard work, and you have to be intentional to succeed. There are a lot of things that you have put together what is the soil, what are the inputs, manage the farm, manage the insecurity. You need to bring police or civil defense to guard your farms. That's what we're doing. That's the painful part. Now, all these things we do just increase the cost of agriculture in Nigeria. It does, yes, I agree. But at least you have food to eat. And that's just the minimum. That's the best minimum. But waiting for government, we're 220 million people. We have about 40 million, 36 to 40 million, who have become are faced with food insecurity, and it's going to get worse next year. That number is going to increase because of lack of inputs, because of lack of government support, and the harsh reality is that we have to look at how to solve some of these problems ourselves.
Mr. Madaki, thank you so much. This has been such an insightful conversation. Yeah. We have so many more questions to ask, but unfortunately, we are out of time for the day. Maybe you will come back on the show and educate us again. But thank you for being with us. We really appreciate your presence here.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Everyone, that's our show for today. We've again talked about some really difficult things, and the hope is that these conversations that we have on this table encourage and inspire those of our viewers out there to figure out ways to make this country work, because clearly it's in our hands now. All right, everyone, we will see you again tomorrow, same time, same station. It's Gagarin from the Ladies and I. Bye. Bye. See you tomorrow.